whether or not we can do that, because they literally shut down the public land and don't let people go. Well, it looks, actually that doesn't look too dissimilar from Tennessee, at least from what I've seen driving up here to get here. A little taller maybe, but it's just gorgeous, gorgeous country. We have fires in our area every so often. In 39 years, or 37, I don't remember, it's 39 years, we had no wildfires at the ranch, ever. And then in 2 years, we had three. We had one where a car caught some of the grass on fire, and it came up over the hill and came down to where the cows had grazed, and God protected us with the cows, believe it or not. We had a lightning strike, and it got into a brush pile we hadn't burnt yet, put up enough smoke, we caught it right away, and they got it put out right away. And this one was a lightning strike on this hill back here behind the ranch, and our boundary is this fence line right there. You can see the brush that grew up alongside of it, and the wind always blows from that direction towards the ranch, and so that fire was just being blown right to where we're at, and it would have come up this hill. We got into the timber right behind where this picture was taken, would have swept down to our houses. It would have been a really bad thing. Next, I had a couple of 747 sized jets out there dropping. Amazing to see them come down that low and drop fire retardant down the ridges and try and slow that down. A couple of helicopters with buckets. Greg Cope was in one of those helicopters dropping stuff on the ranch from the church in Lewistown. Granddad started putting out the word for people to start praying as this fire was approaching us. And when it hit our boundary right here, I mean, it literally stopped on our boundary. The wind switched around and blew the other direction. And to be quite honest, I can't ever remember the wind blowing that direction in our valley. Not ever. And it stopped it on our boundary. They ran a bulldozer down the top of the ranch. The fire crew burnt down from their back, burnt down to the fire, and then the wind switched around and had nowhere to go. Tell me God doesn't answer prayers. And I truly believe if you're praying for an organization like Pinehaven, whether you knew this was going on or not, you know, God's using those prayers to protect and to help. And even with the house parents and the teachers that we need, I know God has a plan. I just need to be patient enough to see that through, but I'm going to work like the Dickens to try and make that happen. But I know God's got a plan, and He protects us, and we don't always see it. I truly believe God always answers prayers. It's not always when and how we want it, but He always does. So, on our backpacking trip last year, the kids just loved getting out there. We took 3 of the horses. I got to be the horsebacker, and we packed in some stuff, and it was just a great time. This was the 1 or 1.5 days that it actually rained on us while we were up there. The rest of the time it was pretty warm and nice. You guys ever notice when you have a bunch of people fishing, 1 or 2 catch all the fish? This young lady, she's actually from Florida, and she stood on a rock out there, and she caught about 12 fish that day. And her 2 house sisters that were there with her using the same thing in the same areas, they didn't catch a single thing. She didn't even give them her rod, let them stand on her rock. It didn't seem matter. She'd jump up there after they didn't catch another one. So we got to see some of those cutthroat trout go from, this was about a 3-mile hike up there on top of that mountain. This lake's about 50 degrees still. But see the fish go from the lake to the pan to the mountain. So, that's good. Yeah. And even at 50 degrees, the kids want to be in there. That's bad. Sullivan County. Every other day out here in the lake, there was a calamuch that would come out, and she would submerge herself to her shoulders, and she would go down, she'd get moss off the bottom of the lake, and she'd sit out there and she'd chew it up, and she'd go down for more. And moose are actually some of our more dangerous animals in an area like that. They can be quite crabby. This was 2 years ago. This was the day before the solar eclipse. And when you're on the mountain on a Sunday, what do? Well, we had church. You know, we're 2 or 3 gathered together. This was this last year on that Sunday. And it was just the most beautiful auditorium to sing praises to the Lord and have a message and have the fellowship that beautiful? You guys know why we put our food up in trees at night? Mountain goats. This, 2 years ago, there was not a goat in camp the whole time we were up there. This year we had 5 of them. There was a couple of nannies, a couple of kids, and a little Billy, and they were in camp all the time. And they actually weren't getting into our food. We've had mule deer do that before. But they were just all around camp. And what they really liked, actually, was our latrine, because there was some salt deposit going on in there, and they really liked that. Well, we had a couple of tarps, and our latrine was out on the edge of a cliff, so not right on the edge, but even back a little bit, so people could have privacy. Well, our younger house dad, Cody, every time he would go over to use the latrine, the goat, that little Billy goat, would climb up the edge of the cliff and look over. So every time he went, he'd put pockets full of rocks. And it was a lot of fun to have him back. And you guys have bears here, don't you?
Yeah.
Blessed are you. It's a good thing to live somewhere you can be eating in your own backyard. It just makes you feel more alive. This bear was actually up at the church camp a few years ago, and one of the house dads and I, we saw him there in camp, so we chased him up this tree. Well, the kids came, got pictures, went back to the lake, and we were sitting there waiting for him to leave, and he saw this hornet's nest out on the end of a limb below him. And so he climbed out there, and he was too heavy to climb out on that limb. He tried, and so he ended up tearing that limb apart with his teeth right here until he got it all the way through and broke, and it fell to the ground. And then he scurried down the tree. He ate the larvae that were inside of it, and then we chased him the rest of the way out of the camp. So, bears are just big raccoons. Not grizzly bears. We leave them alone. We do have both. But the black bears, they're just big raccoons. It's not a big deal. Isn't it amazing what evolution has taught these? No. Isn't it amazing what God has created animals to be able to do? And we love living in a wild part of that, and we do tell the kids, when they first come, don't ever run away, because if you do, you'll get eaten. We haven't had any kids eaten yet. There we go. And I don't show you all 5 minutes of the video, but it's a fun little chunk of video. If we can trust the kids, if they can earn passing a hunter safety course and being trusted with, accurate, and safe with a firearm, we will take them hunting. And they absolutely love that, to get out in the mountains of Montana somewhere. And we have a ton of public land that's either owned by Forest Service, state, or logging companies who allow you to hunt on that. And so we get them out to look for a mule deer or a whitetail, and they have a great time. All our kids who got to go hunting last year harvested deer, which I think is maybe the first time since they introduced the wolves almost 20 years ago now. They just really cut our deer numbers down. It's been pretty rough. But I think last year all the kids got what they were trying to get. So
it's because they opened wolf season.
yes, and they're talking about doubling the tags you can get from 5 to 10, and adding another month of the season on. Right now we can hunt them for almost 6 months of the year.
Dan, how many kids do y'all average?
We've been averaging right around 20. It's a little below that now. We had a couple go home at Christmas, and we haven't got them replaced just yet, or new kids brought in. But we helped 24 in the last year with turnover.
Do you take them all during the year or certain times of the year?
All during the year. Depends on when the parents are needing help. Anywhere in the country.
Have you had any that just ran off?
Yes, all these kids, for the most part, have run away before they came to be with us, and our fences don't keep in our cows. We're not a lockdown facility, so yes, they do sometimes, and we try to find them, before anything can happen to them. And yeah, so it's hard to be separated from your family. That's a tough thing. This is Christmas time, and our kids, of course, love Christmas, but we want them to know it's about Jesus Christ who came as a baby, so later he could die for our sins. And so the house parents sit down, the kids gather around, they read the story with them, and then pray with them before we get into the presents and such. But of course, you guys know how much kids love Christmas and presents and all the fun that goes with that. my wife was here, I'd give her a hard time about how she looks in the background of the picture.
Now, where do the gifts and stuff come from for the kids?
We have a certain budget that we use out of Pinehaven's budget for that, and then we have a few churches that'll send gift cards, like Walmart gift cards, they'll collect them and send them out. There's one church in Florida that gets names and sends out specific gifts, which is a lot of shipping and all that. And our Christmas usually happens a few days to a week before regular Christmas, so that the kids have an opportunity to fly home and be there for Christmas. Now, we are basically a boarding school where the kids stay long-term, but they can earn a week at Christmas and a week in the summer to go home and be there with their families. Family can come out and visit 1 day a month or 3 days every 3 months. They want to come for a weekend, and they call once a week. Now, some of this, like they'll only write letters for the first 6 weeks, and then they'll get a call every week. After that, their parents, after 3 months, their parents can come and visit for a day, and we start opening that up to have that proper time to get acclimated to Pinehaven. We want the parents to have interaction with their kids. This young man, his name is Will, and Will's been with us for a couple of years now. It just kind of seemed like nothing was getting through to Will. Adopted, had some rough things in life go on, and a lot of anger. And I tell you what, just the last few months, about since the time Pack Trip was in August, Will has made an amazing turnaround. You can trust him to send him off alone to go do something, and he wants to jump in there and help, and just an amazing young man. So, as much as we try to help these kids change, it's not something that we can force them to do. All we can really do is give them the opportunity. That's why we only take kids who want to come and take the advantage of that. Now, a lot of times after they've been there a little while, they realize they don't get to just do what they want, and they stop wanting to change as much. But we make sure that that's there in the beginning, because we almost always see that come back around, like with Will. And when the Holy Spirit gets inside of these kids, they make a decision to follow Christ. They're united with Him in His death, burial, and resurrection. It's amazing what that Holy Spirit can do from the inside out. And Will is a great example of that. And so many of them that we have here, I've got pictures of that that's the case. You can't make up some of the backgrounds of some of these kids. We've had some really awful stuff happen to them. We had 3 siblings at one time who at one time were living in a car. I'm not sure if their parents were still helping them or not, but they were living in a car somewhere. And it's just heartbreaking what some of these kids go through.
Have you had any of the kids that have left that have come back to help?
Yes, we've either come back and entered a second year. We had a couple, a young man went away and got married, and then he and his wife worked for us for a little bit. We don't do that too much. It's better if they come back and visit. I've got a young lady right now who has a 7-year-old who would like to come back and show him the place that helped change her life. So we get a lot of that and calls. And it's amazing, we'll get a call 10, 15 years down the road, and some of these kids will have their own kids now and say, you guys are a lot smarter than I thought you were at the time. In the last 43 years now, almost 44 years, we've had over 600 kids at the ranch, and almost every single one of them have given their lives to Christ. And as far as we can tell, 70 to 80% retain their faith when they leave. So that's what we call our success rate at Pinehaven. This young lady is from the Illinois-Indiana border there. Just a few months ago, a couple months ago, her brother was in the military, just a couple years older than she is, and committed suicide. And so if you would pray for her, that would be a really good thing, because there's a lot of hurt there.
What's her name?
They were both adopted. Her first name is Maya. And that's our foreman, Rick. He looks really good in red and white. We just need to find him a Mrs. Claus. Yes, he's been a bachelor long enough. I don't know how many gals are up for that task.
Yeah. Yeah. Just saying.
FarmersOnly.com, firefighter.
FarmersOnly.com. When our kids come to that point of saying, I need to serve the Lord, what do we tell them? Well, we take them to the scriptures. And here in the last year at Pinehaven, these are kids who gave their lives to Christ. And what I tell every church I visit is, whether you support Pinehaven or not, pray for us, visit us, or all of your other ministries, keep in mind that it's the people on the ground, people at Pinehaven can't do the job we're doing without people like you, without churches that are praying for us and making us possible. Because it's a team effort, and that goes for all of your missions, all your ministries. Don't ever say, well, it's just them over there who are doing that, and yeah, we support them. It is a team effort. Own your missions and support them, visit them, help them out as much as you can. And thank you for allowing me to come and share what we're doing as a ministry. And I encourage you, anytime you have one of your missionaries come through the area, find a way to get a group of people together for them. Because as I travel, it is getting more and more difficult to get into churches that do support you, so that you can share about your ministry. And so, be an open arms church, and obviously you are. So thank you guys, and again, thank you for taking care of Rick. Here's a little bit of information on Pinehaven. Most of that I've already talked to you about. I've mentioned that we're an adjunct ministry of a church, a direct ministry, and I'm going a little longer in this presentation than usual. I apologize. You guys are pretty friendly, and Rick said I had 2 hours. So, being an adjunct ministry, right now there is a clause in the Montana law about child placement programs in the state where if you're an adjunct ministry of a church, that you do not have to be state licensed. And what that means for Pinehaven is we're able to keep Jesus Christ as the center of what we're doing. Really not very much would change if we were licensed by the state as far as what we're doing already. We're already subject to the laws and to the police force and social services, and that we're an open door. They can come in and talk to kids, do whatever they need, whenever they need to. And so, we still have to abide by all the laws and building codes and all of that. But anytime the government gets to be in control of the church, they take Christ out of the equation or find a way to make it so hard to be able to go forward that I've talked to a bunch of different children's programs that said, don't ever do it because you'll have to shut down. They'll make so many hoops. We don't ever want to, according to the Bible, by which we're a church of, we don't ever want to have to hire homosexual house parents and be forced to do that because we're a state licensed entity. And so we need to be able to be the church and have that religious freedom. And thus far our state has seen the need for that and put that clause in their law. And every 2 years a well-meaning legislator puts forth a bill to try and remove that clause. And we go and we speak at the Capitol, and a number of people have. The Church of Lewistown sent people to testify at those hearings, and thus far it's never passed. Every other year for a dozen or more years. And thankfully this year about this time I don't have to go back, but next year about this time I will with a group of people again. So pray that that doesn't happen if you would. The Lord is good. We are not supported by the government in any way, and we don't ever send a bill to the parents of the kids. We ask them to do what they can. We expect them to take care of things like travel to and from, medical needs, and clothing. But all of our other funding that makes it possible comes from churches and individuals. And it's a blessing to be free of the government. The government has enough it needs to take care of without us drawing the resources from it either. And so we've noticed that it's becoming more and more difficult to work with kids. Again, I mentioned the turnover rate between parents and kids is a lot more frequent now. And unfortunately, it takes more staff to take care of fewer kids because there needs to be more supervision, and you just need to make sure you have accountability that nothing is going on that shouldn't be. How can you help? Please pray for us. Prayers are worth more than gold. Please visit and encourage us. We love to have visitors. We do have a spot up there along the edge of the bowling alley that we made level and we made fairly large, and we put in electrical hookups, not just 110, but I believe 220 also, a dump station and water. So if you want to come out and park for a little bit, please do it. You don't have to come just on a work group. You can just come and visit. Come stay for a few days or a week. We love to have people just drop in, let us know what you're thinking, and we'll try and find a way to make that happen. If you guys figure out a week that you want 2021, we'd love to get you on the calendar. Even if you have to cancel, or even if you have a group of 3, we still want you to come out and visit us and help us. And it's a huge blessing to us to get all the work we need to get done in our short summers. I think summer in Montana last year was on Thursday. Okay, it's not that bad.
So let me ask, Danny and I have already talked, and all I have to do is call Lisa, and we can set a date. It's like June or July 2021?
Yes, June and July, somewhere in there. And let me just zip over there and I'll tell you the dates it needs to be between.
So how many would want to go and do a work crew for a week? Just, okay, sign us up.
Okay, the 12th through the 31st. So almost 2 months worth of time. I think there's still 8 groups left open in all those weeks. So
yeah, June 12th through July
31st, I believe. Whatever Saturday is in there.
So never, as soon as you get the date, then you need to let everybody know so we can be sure we block it out with our really busy schedules. Yeah. We have to make sure we don't have doctor's appointments. Yard sale. We schedule our yard sale and doctor's appointments.
You go by the best.
We have a lot of bugs.
We don't have cockroaches. We don't have cockroaches at all.
Yeah, don't worry about cockroaches or palmetto bugs or, yeah.
We have just a few mosquitoes, not very much at the ranch.
They don't bother me too, like you said, right now, I have a reaction to them.
No. We have a few ticks, but I never see them around the ranch. And ours are big, so you can find them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I have an advocate in your church with Rick knowing about us, but come out and visit us, and I need advocates in a lot of churches just for staff or support. And if you want to support the ranch financially, I wish I didn't have to talk about that, but in today's age we do. Most of our supporters are probably 50, 60 and above, and at some point that's not going to work for Pinehaven. But if you'd like to become one of the 1,000 new partners with Pinehaven, we'd love to have you. And again, whether you support or not, please feel free to sign up and be on our mailing list just to get updates and pray for us. And thank you guys for letting us come. I usually do my questions in here. You can ask questions if you want, or if it's time to be done, we can do that too. You can still talk to me afterwards. So.
And if you guys want to, and you can write the check to Pinehaven Christian Children's Ranch. Go ahead and sign up, talk to Dan.
Grab the brochure, my information's on here, our address is on here.
Yeah, and we can do some cleanup and get ready to go, but yeah, ask questions. Any questions? Is this cool or